Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm making a quick little video for you. This is something that I have recently learned through studying, and something that I really didn't even pay attention to. A lot of people are so focused on the crucifixion that they don't even pay attention to what happened in the hours before. The crucifixion was the wrath of God that Jesus suffered, intensely before the crucifixion. And this is, I think, you don't hear a lot of preachers preaching on this subject. You hear it taught on more, but nobody holds regard to what happened before. And let me just read to you from the book of Luke. We will start at verse 39. And he came out and went, as he was wont, to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples also followed him. This is a King James Version, mind you. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, Pray that ye enter not into temptation. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, that his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Okay, basically, the Garden of Gethsemane and the Mount of Olives, Gethsemane derives from two words that combined make the English interpretation of an olive press. What that's basically saying is when Jesus went to pray at the Mount of Olives, he knew that the hour of his death had arrived. And before he felt the wrath of God, he felt the atonement, which meant, when it says here, and being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. That means it felt like Jesus was getting pressed so hard with the sins of man, recognizing that he was about to be betrayed in his final hours, that before the wrath of God, he had to feel the atonement. Imagine, folks, you feeling such a great pressure on your body that it feels like drops of blood are going to come out of your pores. I mean, that's basically what this is saying. So before he even felt the wrath of God, folks, he was tortured through atonement. I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, if you go over here to Hebrews 5, verse 7, he who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplication with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. And I mean, this is just amazing. It's something that's not really talked on a whole lot. And I think that's what made me draw into this little video, is because it's like, he didn't suffer just on the cross. He suffered when he felt the weight of the world bear down upon him. A great pain, knowing that he was about to be betrayed, knowing that he was about to be delivered up to the wrath of God. I mean, Jesus went through a lot for us, and I think that short story long, what this is all about. People don't realize how immensely Jesus suffered for the sins of man. Even before he went to he was suffering before he ever went to the cross. And then, you spend all your time with these disciples, and the Word made flesh, and if you just read the beginning of John, you'll see that Jesus spent all this time with these men, knowing in the back of his mind that he was getting ready to be betrayed by one of them. Just imagine that. Take the Holy Ghost out of it for a second, and just imagine what that does to the conscience of a fleshly man. Try to put yourself in Jesus' position as just a fleshly man, just as you are. And just read through the text that I just gave you. Luke and Hebrews. I mean, you don't even have to do a thorough study to read Luke and then verify it with that, and Hebrews, and then look at what the Garden of Gethsemane, what it means, what the Greek words were derived from. I mean, you'll see. It comes from either oil press or olive press, and it just makes perfect sense that when it said that his blood, it just felt like his blood was just coming out of his pores. I mean, that's just ridiculous that he suffered the atonement before he ever suffered the wrath. And I think that, that's one thing that's neglected as far as the whole story comes together in whole, is how much he really suffered for us, man. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I've got a lot of people, getting to have people on my Facebook page that are really knowledgeable of the Word. So if I've said anything that, you guys can elaborate on, or you guys have any comments on, feel free to leave them below. But that was just my thoughts on it. I mean, you see all these movies and you see all this stuff that's mainstream, and it's nothing but the cross, the cross, the cross, the cross, and people just don't realize, before he ever went to the cross, he was suffering. He suffered the weight of the world, knowing what was about to happen. And I could only imagine what it would feel like. I can't even imagine, honestly, what it would feel like if you were in a press, and you were alive in this press and lived through something that felt like it was pushing drops of blood through every pore in your body. What that would feel like. The weight of the world, being how Jesus was perfect, coming down on you and crushing you before you even felt the wrath of God, which was all the spitting, the beating, the cursing, the mental and physical breakdown. Jesus and God in the darkest hours, I think between 3 to 6, where God turned away from him so he could witness the sin, or he could see sin, or he could be sin, maybe. I mean, it's amazing, folks. I mean, it really is what the man went through for us to be, inevitably screw-ups that still blame the Father for all the stuff we've done. I don't know. If you've enjoyed this, let me know. I'm not going to ramble too long. I don't want it to be a 10-minute video. We love you, and God bless.